Hello, Ken. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Anita. How are you doing?
Yeah, really good. I hope you're somewhere in Australia where it's not pouring down at the moment and you're keeping yourself dry.
Yeah, trying to.
Yeah,
Sugar melts.
yeah, very
It's a
good.
bit dangerous.
Well, thank you so much for spending the next 30 minutes with me talking all topics about smart councils and digital ways of how councils can improve the citizen engagement. So, Ken, you are with Oracle now since almost 7 years, and you're the director for customer experience in the public sector. Tell me a bit of why have you chosen that path, and why public sector and customer experience for you personally?
Yeah, well, I guess kind of fell into it. In all honesty, I mean, my background's in social psychology, criminology, and so I did a uni. But then when I came to Australia and needed a job, and found myself in the sales, and I guess in terms of Oracle, public sector, one of the things I guess is good about public sector is that it's helping do good. I was working retail in the past, was working in manufacturing, where it's all about helping companies sell more. But in government, it's about actually help making it easier for us as citizens. I'm a citizen myself, to make the most out of the government services available. So it's it's goodwill work, I guess. So yeah, it really makes it a bit more
Yeah.
rewarding for sure.
I love what you say, because it's exactly the reason why we are also, really, we've done a lot of research around the council area, public sector area, and we're all about customer experience. And, over the years, we've worked with banks, telcos, retailers, and I've been having personally the debate since years of how can we apply the lessons learned into the public sector and really make a difference. So I'm super excited about today's talk with you around how we can transform the customer experience for councils. And Victoria alone has almost 80 councils, so hopefully a few of them are listening here today, and you can get a few takeaways out of this session and head to connect afterwards. So Ken, from your point of view, how has the council space changed over the last few years? Like, what are sort of the key, I guess, shakers and movers post-COVID and technology change, and how people move from the cities out into the country and have, different expectations of the council services? What are some of the key trends you see happening at the moment?
Well, yeah, listen, I think there's been a lot of change happening, and maybe if I just put a few slides together to help maybe illustrate that might make the story a little more clear. But I think I've just changed slides, just making sure that's changed for you, Anita. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think one of the things that happened when before COVID, we were entering this digital era. A lot of citizens were digitally savvy, doing everything online or through digital, and so this was, I guess, putting them in the driver's seat. And now local government, this is their, I guess they have a captured audience, and not only that, there's a bit more pressure on them. They can't just leave a customer to go to another customer if the performance is bad. So I guess this kind of puts pressure on them that they do need to deliver. They need to really meet those expectations that are being primarily driven out of the private sector, if you will, Uber, Airbnb, working with your banks. And that's also the digital native, the millennial, they're coming to the mix. They're not only coming to the mix as buying houses and being a ratepayer, but they're also working in these organizations. And I think, it's really what was happening is that it was digital is where you need to go. And I know a lot of local governments and councils and even state government were talking, well, how do we get more digital? How do we focus more on the individual as opposed to the ratepayer? And so this was happening, but then COVID came, right? The pandemic. And I think one of the things that happened, all those kind of thoughts and ideas of what, organizations were thinking of doing or wanted to do, they're suddenly caught out if they hadn't done it. And so I think government, especially local government, found themselves challenged because they still needed to have the shelter in place. The services still needed to continue. And how did they do that when they couldn't have these face-to-face meetings anymore, when staff had to work from home? And so really just, I guess what happened is that big decisions were made overnight. And I think we kind of took a leap forward to 2, 3, 4 years in terms of digital strategy. And so luckily there was a few, I'll share a few stories as we go through it, but ultimately, it's no doubt that the digital expectations, the digital capabilities of council to operate under this circumstance needs to thrive now. And here's a few stats. That there was a lot of CIOs certainly realize that we need digital channels to communicate, to make sure they're safe, 2, to communicate programs, 3, to also enroll them or still allow them to continue to lodge service requests and so on. And so that expectation, I guess, is really, that pre-COVID, that digital era is one of the things we called in the experience economy. We all live in this now. And what we mean by that is that, we live in an environment and operate in an environment where we expect rides to come in minutes. We expect answers in milliseconds with chatbots, and our packages to come within hours if we're ordering online. And so when we turn to our government, in local government, we haven't had that same experience. And so this is what's putting the pressure. I guess you couple that with, the right capping and pressure for organizations to do more. And so this has really, I guess, created this real need for and drive for digital customer experience.
Yeah.
And so, so I thought you might have asked a question, but no.
It's super interesting, and I think you're spot on, right, with all your analysis and the key points. But I've been seeing some very similar sort of pressure points across multiple councils where the circumstances are just changing so rapidly that there's a real need to kind of adapt what good council services look like.
For sure, and I think here's what if you could, or that art of possible, being able to offer these services on any channel. Now we know the councils are dealing with anywhere from 3 or 4 generations of people, from the young digitally savvy up to the age, and so we're not saying get rid of face-to-face or get rid of phone, but we need to have these other channels available to be able to deliver this service. So the channel preference, I think if you look at stats, the channel preference across a population is almost pretty even. So there's not one real clear winner. But what it does show is that there is certainly people wanting to engage with the organization, the council, and in their own channel preference, and that's an even split. And so I think that's part of the challenge. So how do we do that? How do we offer that? And also be able to channel swap. You may come in and start on the website or start on a mobile phone, but then go to a chat, but then on to an agent. So having that flexibility and consistency is really key in terms of meeting those expectations. And you talk about the experience, but I guess the other thing that happens, Anita, is when you have these digital channels available, the time to be able to respond and react to what's happening in the market, or pandemic, or the extreme weather events that we're seeing, you can do that quickly with digital, and that's probably a big benefit. And why digital? What really does it mean for councils? Well, it's lower cost. It's a lower cost to serve, as opposed to picking up the phone. It's literally probably 25% cheaper, but you're also getting, people being able to serve themselves. Some of those high volume, low complex, requests can be automated through the digital channels. And what does that mean? Well, it probably frees the council staff up to focus on the more value added activities and become more relevant and really deliver value, as opposed to having to rush off. So some pretty good benefits come out of this. There's no doubt about it. Hands down, it is a great exercise if you can get it right.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Ken, I'm just getting messages through that for whatever reason, this live video is not streaming on LinkedIn. I might just quickly refresh our screen. So hopefully we're not dropping off and we're back soon. Just give me 1 second. We think we're all back. So hopefully our LinkedIn followers can see this now. And I hope the first 10 minutes of our talk has been recorded and will come through. Sorry to interrupt your flow, Ken.
No, that's well. I think it's important they hear it. The tree falls in the forest. So I guess, Ken, we talked about digital customer service and kind of why, what's creating this need for it, and obviously the benefits are pretty real and obvious. But I guess what do we talk about when we're talking about digital customer service? And I guess it could be through turning your website into a live digital customer service officer or agent, with all the smarts in there. But it's probably a bit more than that. And here's some, I guess, elements of digital customer service that council can start to embrace, whether one at a time or as a complete transformation. But ultimately, it's an area that we're starting to see uptake in councils. Take a look at self-service, or whether it's on the website. We're talking about customer portal, being able to log in, and everything that the council knows about us is available to use in the way we engage with them, and that's really key. And I think traditionally the councils were focused around that ratepayer, and so you could perhaps you couldn't even log in to pay your rates. You still had to pick up the phone, or a lot of people walk in and pay. But now to be able to do that online, but there's councils are quite multifaceted, so you want to do more things. Pet registration, toy library with kinder enrollment, all this should be available through that same channel. So we're seeing a lot of uptake on that. Live chat is another one we hear a lot about, being able to communicate with the council, not necessarily picking up the phone. Some of those digital natives don't want to talk to you, but they need your help, or they need something resolved, and they're happy to do that on chat. So seeing that channel come up, I often see some roll out live chat, but it's still kind of disconnected from that data model that, and I'll touch on in a minute. Mobility, mobile apps. We were talking, do we need an app, or how do we engage with them on the mobile phone? It's really quite challenging. Probably the other area here, integrated knowledge, having knowledge-centered service and embedding knowledge into your website, but not only just having a knowledge article, but having that contextual on your website. So perhaps you're going into you need a planning permit, and then you're navigate to a planning permit site, but then having a FAQ, or frequently asked questions, that are contextual in that moment. So these are truly the most asked questions around a planning permit. You could switch to dog registration on the website, and then you're now seeing those most asked questions. It's really about trying to work on that self-service, or I guess being able to help them solve their query in a moment of need, and not necessarily have to then pick up the phone and follow a higher cost channel, unless you want to, right?
Yeah, no, I love it. And, the things you're talking about, Ken, a lot of it can really almost put into buckets, right? And I would assume a lot of those requests or queries or feedback, is very repetitive, right? Whether it's, as you said, registering a pet or moving house, or connecting, reporting an issue somewhere on the street or whatnot. And I think councils can definitely probably save a lot of effort and money and time of automating a lot of those processes and rerouting them immediately to the right department or right person who can deal with the issue, giving the customer and the citizen a better experience, but also optimizing internal workflows.
Yeah, that's it's 100% right. It's about routing it to the right person in the back office as well. No sense double handling something if it doesn't need to. And when you do things digitally and you do it right and you're collecting that right information, well, we can automatically send that to the right person. Probably one of the other things just to call out on the knowledge, and even with chat and chatbots is language multilingual. As a lot of there's a lot of migration to Australia, and we're seeing a culture mosaic council, if you will, where there's you look on any of the websites and they're dealing with up to 20 different languages. But those in the time of need, what do? They're not comfortable picking up the phone typically because their English is not you're not confident in it. I know if I went to France, I could speak a little bit of French, but I would certainly not have the confidence to pick up the phone and speak to someone. I'd rather try to do it in a way that I'm more comfortable with. And digital channels is great. Knowledge can be multilingual. You can search in your own language, and same with chatbots where there's translation on the fly. We're doing some really cool things in university there. But these are now other elements where you can serve the citizen in their language, but still make sure they're getting the help they need, or they're getting the answer they need to I guess continue on for the day.
Yeah, spot on, right. And language barrier being one thing, but there's also real proof that some generations, and I'm probably part of that still as well, is they prefer writing versus actually, picking up the phone and waiting in a queue. And then, like if you can get somewhere with 3 clicks, I'd much rather prefer doing that than, like sitting on a phone line somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. It's nothing worse than sitting on a phone for 20 minutes. I had to do that with a telco company, unfortunately, and only to lose or the phone drop out, or they try to transfer you, then you have to start again. It's it's not a good experience, right?
No.
So I guess, Nita, this slide here is really about when you start to look at digital channels and bring them out. There's probably one thing that certainly at Oracle we talk about it, and that's about connecting the people and process to the data. And in particular, if you're going to serve someone through digital channels and you have information about them, you want to make sure that that's coming into that whole experience. And so when you come kind of down this path, we talk about this 360-degree view, this golden record, really this single view of customer. It's really key to get that right, because that becomes, you can get that data right. You start to connecting the data points to that individual, and that gives you that connected insights, which then gives you the ability to deliver a connected experience through digital channels. And I think that's quite important. And so certainly an area that we say, have a look at this, get this right, make sure your data model around the contact is sound, and then you can start to introduce and roll those digital channels out as part of the digital customer service. Yeah.
And on that, Ken, do you have a point of view in terms of, creating the golden record for a council? Like what, is it only the first party data, or would they also take, second and third party data from other service providers in their, council area, for example?
Yeah, that's I think there's a couple things when you go down this path. One is cleaning up what you have. Councils have many applications, and the contact records stored in many of those applications that aren't talking to each other. So we kind of look at that first cleanup, getting that a real accurate picture of who your contacts are, and then you can start to build on that in terms of I guess updating system survivorships. But then when you can get real savvy into the way you're talking about is introducing third-party data that's available through APIs or in data enriching data that's available through third-party systems that can come in. It could be Vic Roads information being able to come into the equation on the fly when need through API calls, things like that. You really can get quite sophisticated with that, but it's a journey, right? What sort of
sports clubs or hobby clubs or the library? Or I don't know. I'm just making things up here, but I think there's a real opportunity to create a holistic view of your customers in your region, and Yeah.
100%, 100%.
Address a personalized service. Yeah.
That's right. Because when I mean, example, you start to serve up a customer portal, if you will. You log in. We already know that, Anita, you have 2 kids, 3 dogs. You're a member of the leisure facility. If we can connect all those data points and then serve up a relevant experience through that customer portal, and it could be creating awareness, letting them know that there's for dog walkers, in Canada we used to call it Caesar Sundays, where you can go have a Caesar, which is kind of like a Bloody Mary, and walk the dog. But all these sorts of things and programs that you can then start to create awareness and relevance to the individual, so they can start taking those up. And really, what it does, it makes councils more relevant for the people.
Yeah, I love it.
So it would just, I don't know if anyone tuned into the webinar we did recently, where Hume got on and spoke about their journey around the single digital customer view, and in doing so, one of the things they talked about is they went through this process, but it really rationalized a whole bunch of service workflows that weren't necessary anymore, and they went from something like 1,000 service request workflows down to 300, and I mean that's a significant rationalization and optimization of the process. And they got that golden record right, and then they start to serve that up. I think they had multiple customer portals as well that they then brought together to combine into a single experience, which is they're just about to go live, but already before even going live, they've seen huge operational benefits and impact already.
Amazing. I love that story.
And I guess we'd look at customer portal. This is I look at some of the portals in the market today, and you can log in, you can do stuff, you can pay your rates, but there's some limitations in around that. And one of the things we wanted to do at Oracle is making sure that when you're in there, and again, all the information the council would have about the individual should be used in that contextual experience. And so, the other thing is also this always on approach with digital customer service 24/7. And one of the stories, City of Geelong went live. They decided they'd turn on at midnight, just to mitigate, whenever you go live, it's always a scary thing. But within 30 minutes of going live at midnight, they already had 3 service requests logged through the portal. And I think that's really telling the tale of the importance of customer service, because digital customer service, sorry, it just shows the efficiency. And we only work typically a 9 to 5 day, but digital is always on. And so there's the ability to capture those elements and start to, I guess, still continue service while in need. It's really a good step forward.
Yeah.
Now we talk about smart engagement. So this is kind of this digital conversation, and we have a little tool we call Intelligent Advisor, just plugging the product. But it is there's a lot of governance and guidance and rules that councils have to abide by. But when that manifests to the citizen, it's often in language that doesn't make sense. You look at, it's kind of legal speak or legislative speak, and I know for myself, it hurts trying to read that. So what we do, we take that and we turn that into a digital conversation. It's almost like a guided interview, of following the bouncing ball approach, and we can do that across the most complex, I guess, processes, and serve that up through, whether it's through the app, into an app, or through the website on mobile. But ultimately, when in Victoria they introduced a 4th bin, the purple bin, and that just created a bit more challenge. Council's trying to move and navigate and introduce, how do we handle this? But City of Yarra were able to introduce this quickly and easily, through digital, follow the bouncing ball. Those questions, all those questions that come up about, well, what's this for? When's it go out? What goes in it? Could easily be solved through knowledge on their website. But then it starts getting, they need a new bin, or I didn't get my bin, then they can start asking the questions and getting the answers they need. And then automatically that gets routed to the back office, the acting officer, to then go ahead and send out a missed bin. So pretty cool stuff there.
Yeah.
This is probably the most important, well, not most important, the most common topic is live chat. And, you have live chat, but then you even have chatbots. And what does all this mean? And councils, there are a number of councils I've seen and I've worked with that have rolled out live chat. But if we go back to having that connected to the rest of the organization, they often find that live chat kind of works in isolation. But when you can connect that through a data model, that live chat, and not only that, have that be able to channel swap. I mean, you really start to see a good experience. And I might just take a second to talk around this, Anita. When we take a look at where this has come from, back in the day, back in the 90s and late 80s, we needed a website. Well, I'll say 90s. And that that was a thing. We put everything on the website so people can see information. They weren't great, but it was totally new. So the novelty was there. Then eventually mobile phone proliferation came out, and we're like, oh no, we need a mobile app, right? We need to be able to talk to these people and service them and give them the information they need in a mobile form. And now we're fast forward to today and beyond. It's all about digital assistants. So we had live chat to now digital assistants, which are chatbots. Oracle, we call them digital assistant because they're a bit smarter than a chatbot, but this is the future. And then I guess why is it important? Well, if it's natural conversation, you need to be able to talk to it and communicate with it in natural language, not in the rules or the policies that they are written in the legislation or council. We can embed this digital assistant into any channel, so it's not its own app, but we can embed it into app if they already had one, or we can put it into channels. We call it organic, right? We can go where they are. So, whether it's WhatsApp, Messenger, etc., and put a chatbot in there to communicate them organically. As mentioned, it's always on. Any channel we can serve that through, even voice. It's so be able to get that through voice, use voice to lodge a request, and have it being answered by Alexa is a great step forward, and it's available for councils today.
Yeah, and we've been previously involved with a chatbot implementation to one of the key retailers in Australia, and what fascinated me was sort of the AI function in it and the self-learning, how it actually adopts and adapts to whatever questions are being asked. So it's super interesting.
It does. It gets smarter as it goes, and I think one of the things at Oracle we probably like and pride ourselves different is that we have this chatbot, but it's not only just for the engage with the citizen. You can use it to talk to your own applications as an employee and get information out of it. We have councils that are and customers and more overseas, but are using it to ask how much annual leave do I have left, and they're using voice, talking to a chatbot, and it's returning that answer. It's some pretty cool stuff, and this is where things are heading, right? It's got to be easy, it's got to be intuitive, and it's got to be natural. Probably just coming up to the end here. I'm running on time. I guess I'll give you a few minutes to open up. But the city of Albuquerque, this is someone who did this right. They had this issue of graffiti all throughout the city, and they wanted to get rid of it. But they wanted to find a way to stand out and do something different, to get rid of something that's been a problem. So they decided to hire Alexa, the Amazon Voice, and they tied that to the Oracle Service Cloud Council CX solution. And what happened now, they only used that one use case because you wanted to get it right. You didn't want to open up to everything because that makes complexity. And this we talked about, there's a journey. So they opened it up for citizens and people in business, whoever, I guess, to be able to go, speak to Alexa, lodge a service request, give all the information, because when you start asking the right questions, we put this intelligence behind this chatbot or AI that makes it smart. We're asking all the right questions needed in order to service that request. And so this information was being captured. It was then being routed to the city maintenance team, who were then going out and cleaning up the graffiti. And in fact, they cleaned up the city within that first 12 months. It was really quite effective. So then what they did, say, all right, this is great. Now let's start to roll this out for other service requests. And that's a great example of not doing the big bang, but start small, get it right, and then start to build on that. And I think, Anita, we were chatting about this the other day. It's a journey, right? You can do a big bang approach, or you can just bite off little chunks and start to get that right. Start to build up the digital fitness within the staff and the digital capabilities within the IT team, but also making sure that it's right for the customer and that it's going to add value.
Yeah. 100%, Ken, and that's exactly the approach we follow here at Kite Consulting as well. Is I think the most important thing is to do a roadmap, right? Do a real analysis around where you're at, where do you want to be, and break it down into executable chunks. Yeah, I'm sure some councils choose to do the big transformation, but it is a huge undertaking, not only financially, but also from a resourcing point of view internally as well. Yeah, so our recommendation would definitely be like, and today's talk was really about those bite-sized little, chunks, which, organizations can put on a roadmap and go one after the other, and as such transform over time. So we're out of time. Fascinating talk, Ken. Absolutely loved it. Full of insights. If anyone has any questions, please put them on the LinkedIn chat. I've been seeing a whole bunch of, moving over to YouTube and whatnot. So hopefully everyone could follow this session. Ken, thank you so much for your time. I hope we can do another chat very soon and, tackle the topics in more detail.
Thanks, Anita. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you to our audience. Before we finish off, there's a second council-specific kite perspective coming up in not this coming week, but the following week. So please look at our LinkedIn page and maybe also register for the next one, which will be very interesting, where we talk about buy locally and how potentially loyalty programs can help incentivize your local community to stay within the community. Anyhow, without further ado, everyone have a great Wednesday and we talk soon. Thank you.